Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of Pit Pass Network interviews. Today, we are joined by Melissa Fifield, driver of the number 01 car for her family-owned Pine Knoll Racing Team in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. So, thanks so much for joining us, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so first off, how has your off-season been treating you so far?
It's been a bit busy for me personally and trying to get race cars finished up in just a short amount of time. So it's flown by.
Yeah, so I guess first off, what's your um background in your racing career and your stories that's gone to where you are right now?
So I grew up having four-wheelers and snowmobiles and just loving speed from a young age. Wanted to race since I was about 5. I didn't start till I was 12 in go-karts and champ karts. Won the track championship in that in our first year out. Did some WKA, some Northeast Pavement Series. Then from there went to the Allison Legacy Series. Did the North schedule at the time, also mixed in some Southern races when we had some off weekends. And then from there, I had the opportunity to drive for someone on a late model, but I grew up watching modifieds and just fell in love with them when I was a child. So I turned that down and wanted to race in the Valente modified series. So that was a touring series that traveled mainly here in New England. Did that for a couple of years. And then from then moved on to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. So I just finished up my 10th year with that series. I'm going into my 11th season now.
It's very awesome. And then what kind of sparked your interest in racing like at a young age? Was it your family that brought you to races or what kind of sparked?
So just the love of speed. I mean, none of my family had ever raced before. We'd go to the racetrack as a cheap family date with my sister and obviously my parents. So I saw race cars, immediately fell in love with them, knew that it was something I wanted to do. Took some convincing for my parents to finally let me until I was about 12. So just something, once I saw it, I knew that I had a love for it.
Yeah, for sure. And then where you're at now in the sport. A NASCAR article called you the Iron Lady, where you have amassed more starts than any other woman in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour history. You currently have 145 and counting. So I guess what has the last 10 seasons, you said you're going into your 11th, meant to you, being able to compete in so many races?
Yeah, I mean, I love this series. I think we have some of the best drivers in the country in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. So any season that I get to go racing and I'm able to obtain enough sponsorship to run the full season, it's really a dream come true. I love modifieds. I think they're the best race cars out there. This past year, in our 10th year, we had our best year yet, had my best qualifying, my best finish, best points finish. Really, it was a fantastic year for us. And if it wasn't for a couple of mechanical failures in a few races, I think we would have been in the top 10. So I'm really looking forward to it now with the success we had in our 10th year. And just a few things we've kind of been learning in the off season about chassis setup, I think is going to make us even better for this year. Each year, try to build the team even more, build up a pit crew, get some more parts. Um, it's a bit of a challenge, that's for sure, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
And then you're in a unique position where you're also a car owner and a racer. So what is it like juggling both a racer and a car owner at the same time?
I love it. I also own my own business as well. That's a automotive car dealer. So that business is where my race cars are at inside the dealership there. But there's certainly some challenges to it, just getting everything as far as schedule wise, making sure we have crew lined up, what day we're leaving, just, is the car ready to go, working on the race car myself, having that done. So it brings more challenges, but I think when you have some great finishes or success, it just makes it even that much better knowing, I've got all my blood, sweat, and tears really into this race team.
For sure. And you mentioned about your car dealership, Pine Knoll Auto Sales. So I guess with racing and owning a business, how do you handle your time with that as well?
There's certainly days that I don't stop working till it's 10, 11 at night, and my phone's always on. So I don't have a normal 9 to 5 schedule like some people do. It's I get up, and whether I start working right at the dealership, work on things with customers, locate inventory for that, and then step aside and try to get things lined up for the race team. So there's certainly days where I'm a bit more tired at the end of it, but I love having a busy schedule. I off season for me, and I don't love the quietness of it. So I'm used to having to, a list of things to get done and each day, and juggling all of that. I kind of thrive in stressful situations, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, and it's unique, like owning the car dealership. I guess, how do you decide what cars to put on the lot for sale?
So you just kind of take a look at the market. I've been in business for this is my 5th year this year, so I kind of know by now, what type of vehicle sells, what price range, what mileage. So I've got some great partners that kind of help me with providing some inventory when I need it, or certain areas that I can go and get it from. And then sometimes it's a little let's try a camper here and there, or try some unique vehicles, like we've done classic cars and such. So I'll sell anything at the dealership, that's for sure. But there's certainly some vehicles that sell better than others, and you just kind of judge the market and, like I said, really our area.
And then I guess which you do racing and the car dealership. Which one would you say takes up more of your time?
Ah, gosh, I would probably say race team takes up a decent amount of my time. And then there's days where the dealership is, we've got 3, 4 customers in the door one day, and I may not get as much done on the race cars. So it can be a juggle between the two.
And then Pino Auto Sales actually has been a sponsor in your car for the past few years. So I guess has that the business you've owned been a huge help in building your racing team as well because it's giving you sponsorship to compete?
I would say possibly. I started on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour with plenty of sponsors on that part of it. My dealership at least allows my race team to have a location for the team to work on the cars and the hauler to be there. I'm certainly looking for funding. I intend to run the full season, but certainly need sponsorship to do that. I advertise the race team, or the auto sales on my race team, just because it's a location that my race cars are at. It certainly helps, but not nearly as much as I would certainly like to one day.
And then the car number you drive, number 01, is there any meaning behind that number or just a number you chose?
So I chose that number. It's a little bit of a business reason why. Having the O1 puts me first on all the entry list, anything to do with that when it's in that order. So my sponsor is able to be right at the top of any list.
And then switching gears, your fiance Hunter Smith owns Fit Stop Performance. It's a fitness program that focuses on athletic performance for motorsports athletes. And drivers such as Spencer Boyd, Patrick Emerling, Ryan Vargas, Dawson Cramp, Brad Perez, and Howie DeSavino have utilized that before, and currently right now. Do you utilize that program as well to stay in physical and mental shape for racing?
Yes, so Hunter's kind of revamped my fitness, and what workouts I'm on, and kind of taught me a whole lot about my body and what I need best to perform in the race car, and then the mental side of that. So it's certainly been kind of a great help to have not only my fiance know the sport, but also be involved and understand what it takes physically and mentally, and be able to make sure that I'm at my best level to compete.
For sure. And I guess like behind the wheel of a race car, what would you say is the most challenging part, like physically inside the race car?
certainly days where the heat can take a toll on you into a race day and you haven't hydrated enough. That can certainly affect not only your body, but your mind. So I would say that's probably one of the more challenging things physically and mentally.
And then out of all the racetracks you've raced on over the years, what would you say is the most physically demanding track you've raced on?
I would say, as far as physically demanding, some of the short tracks can be that way if they're high banked, like a Riverhead Seekonk running so many laps there. And then, we used to race at Bristol and the series would go there. The G forces there really suck you down in the seat. So that's certainly another one that's physically demanding.
And then inside the race car, it can get tough mentally once in a while. So I guess how do you break the mental barriers inside the race car too? Because does take a lot of mental strength to drive a race car.
As simple as this may seem, just remember to breathe. That's a big key is just making sure that if you get enough oxygen in you and you're breathing through it, that's the key.
And then I mentioned your fiance Hunter. He also spots for you during races. So I guess how comforting it is for a driver during races to have a familiar voice in the radio.
Yeah, he's a great spotter as far as having a familiar voice, but not only the fact that he, used to race as well. So he's able to kind of see things as far as like lines and other points in the track that I may obviously can't see from the race car. And he's familiar with how, race cars operate and what I may need. So that's certainly been a huge help from him.
For sure. And you mentioned Hunter raced. What type of race cars did he drive before?
He has raced modifieds before.
Oh, cool. And then your father, Kenneth, also is part of the race team. He helps out in the race shop and a great asset to the shop. And I read that he helps out at the car dealership business as well while you're out and about racing and such. So what has it meant to have a father to care so much for your racing aspirations?
Yeah, I have the best dad in the world. He puts blood, sweat, and tears into anything that I want to go for and supports me in every decision. So having him at the track and having that bond between us when we go to the track, it's really special and can't thank him enough for all of the support that he's given me my whole life.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And then you're a New Hampshire native, and I saw your upcoming schedule for this year in the Wheel and Modified Tour, and there's 4 races. They're gonna race in New Hampshire, 3 at Monadnock Speedway at Winchester, and New Hampshire Speedway at Loudon. So I guess what does it mean to go from watching the races from the grandstands at your home tracks to now driving and competing in the Wheel and Modified Tour at those home tracks?
Yeah, I love it. I'm happy that we have quite a few races in my home state this year. I grew up since I was about 7 years old, going to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and I'd stay the whole weekend, watch modified practice when it would happen on Thursday, watch qualifying, watch the race. So my love for modifieds began at such a young age, and I always dreamed one day of racing at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So the first time I did it, I had some goosebumps going through the tunnel, knowing that I was going to be able to drive on a track that I've always grown up going to. And I mean, still this day, it's such an honor to be able to go race with this series and compete the way that we do.
For sure. And you mentioned watching as a kid. Did you have like a favorite wheel modified driver growing up?
I would say I grew up watching Mike Stefanik and Ted Christopher were some of my favorites. I just loved the cars. I think they're the best race as far as that New Hampshire Motor Speedway puts on. Maybe a little biased, but it puts on one exciting race.
For sure. And then switching gears again, I read in an article, you're in the New Hampshire Woman magazine, um, and it actually took a little persuading at first, for um, to your parents to race at a young age, to start competing in racing. So I guess what was the spark that eventually got them convinced to help in your racing dream?
Probably, but begged enough. Like I said, I wanted to race since I was about 5. Having four-wheelers and snowmobiles, I think they knew that it was something that I was, wanting to do. I had to work on obviously obtaining sponsorship to start at that age. It's something that I've done my whole racing career to make sure that I'm able to go out and compete. So, once we tried a test with the Champ Car, I was hooked, and my family could see the enjoyment that we were going to get out of it.
And then I also saw in that same article that you never needed a racing coach to help you and instead relied on your own experiences and advice from other drivers. So I also saw in the article you said track time is the most critical aspect of learning as well. So and then like I said earlier, you have already 145 starts in the series, so a lot of track time. So I guess what's one thing you think you've improved on the most from the start of your wheel modified career to now?
Just the ability, I'd say our biggest thing has been to get the car set up for my driving style. In the last year and a half, we've gotten a lot of help from Sly with that, and just curtailing the car to what is the best for me. Um, has probably been that. And I would say feedback, obviously, the more seat time I have, as far as from when I started, to be able to communicate what I need in the car to go faster.
And then a quote I found from an article from the official NASCAR website that actually came out today. It said, you said that I don't know what I would do if I wasn't racing. I think I'd be lost. So I guess what is it about racing that draws you in so much?
Gosh, everything about it. Obviously, I love being in the race car most. I've been hooked since I was really a child, so it's been my whole life. I love it. I can't imagine not racing cars or being in motorsports at all. I think, like I said, I think I'd be lost. It's kind of my identity.
For sure. And then also in that article, you said um, you were joking, but you said you wanted to race until you were 65 to 70 years old. Were you actually joking, or would you totally do that?
I would love to do that. If I can keep the team funded and keep going, I would race till I'm 65, 70. There's, yeah, I will keep going if I can.
That's awesome. And then you've won most popular driver actually before in the Wheel Modified Tour for 3 straight years. So I guess what has it meant for the fans to appreciate your hard work on the race shop and the racetrack and show their support to you and vote you as most popular driver?
Yeah, it's really such an honor to be able to represent the series with the most popular driver. I know from a young age when I was going to the racetrack with my family and I got to meet drivers, I met this other woman that was racing and she let me sit in her race car, and I know what that had for an effect on me. So I want to make sure that I'm able to give that back to the fans now and show, everyone out there that if you have a dream, that nothing is impossible, and to go for it. So, I wouldn't be able to do without a lot of the fan support, and can't thank them enough for that.
Yeah, for sure. And then in 2022, you were invited in the Bushlight Accelerate Her program that allows female drivers who are 21 years or older to get more funding, track time exposure, and training for NASCAR. So I guess how much has that program helped benefit your racing journey right now?
So that program has since ended. So, unfortunately, on that.
Okay. And then you also do efforts to driving safety on the road as you are a spokesperson for New Hampshire highway safety. So I guess with your efforts, you were recognized by Governor Sununu and earned a congressional citation. So what motivated you to get involved in that cause?
So I always wanted to be able to give back to people and show, with good choices where that'll lead you, and also be able to provide a positive role model for children that are looking for that. So I love to be able to give back to my community, show them, like I said, the power of making good choices and going after your dreams, and also being able to share the safety equipment that's inside of your everyday car compared to a race car and how that correlates with each other and what all of that means, and making sure that people drive safe on the road. Because in certainly some cases, I feel safer on the racetrack than I do on, driving my daily vehicle.
Yeah, it's a powerful statement actually. Like you feel more safe on the racetrack than the actual road. So yeah, that's a great cause you're doing there. And then and then I guess like pre-race, what is your like routine like before the race on race day?
So I've got a busy race day myself between managing the team. So just small things. I know for me, just making sure that I have all of my safety gear ready to go. Trying to drink enough water to stay hydrated throughout the day. Having a little bit of quiet time before I head out to practice or the race to be able to just clear my head and get focused is a big key for me.
For sure. And then do you utilize like the online racing, like iRacing at all before races to get prepared?
Yes, so I do have a simulator that I do spend time, before the race, either trying different setups to see if there's something that we can critique on the car, and just getting familiar, running hundreds of laps on there to make sure I've got my rhythm, and visually I remember where everything is on the racetrack as far as points that I can use that correlate to driving on the racetrack.
For sure. And then I guess like what's one characteristic you would want people to know the most about you?
I would say, I always say if I could describe myself in one sentence, I never quit.
That's a great one there. Yeah, never quit like mentality is definitely a great one there. And then I guess like throughout the years then what's been your like your favorite racing memory in your career?
I would say as far as something more recently, probably my 12th place finish this past year at Riverhead. I hated that racetrack growing up. We could never get the setup right on it. And I think we've kind of hit on something in the last year. So it became my least favorite racetrack to probably high up there in the ranking. So like I said, this past season kind of builds a lot of momentum for us going forward. Obviously, some good memories of winning a championship in my first year in karting, races, winning races in Legacy Series and stuff like that. But as far as the most recent one, I would certainly say that finish at Riverhead.
And then the besides the New Hampshire tracks, because obviously they would be the answer for this one, what's been your favorite track you've raced on over the years?
I love Bristol Motor Speedway when we ran on that. I love Thompson is a great track as well. But now I've kind of grown to have a love for Riverhead. Um, gosh, let's see what else. Obviously, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I would say that's probably some of my favorite racetracks. I love Richmond, Martinsville, just for the history of those are and they're pretty great racetracks as well.
Yeah, a lot of those tracks are historic, like ran in the Cup Series too, so it's probably cool to race in some of the tracks the same Cup drivers drive on too.
Yeah, it's pretty neat being able to go, especially like some of those bigger weekends like Richmond, where you've got, the Cup Series, Xfinity Series there, and you're able to race on such a big stage. So I really enjoy it on those weekends.
Yeah, I mentioned or I asked what was your favorite modified driver growing up, but who was your favorite Cup driver growing up?
Ooh, I had a few when I was a child. I used to like Jeff Gordon, obviously, Danica Patrick. My other kind of favorite driver growing up was Jennifer Jo Cobb because of what she had done, for owning her own truck team. So I really love any driver though. Anyone that can get out there and do it, I know it's like on certain days. So I really support anyone that's able to get out there and follow their dreams.
For sure. And then I guess going back to your childhood, I know you tried racing, but did you try any other sports throughout your childhood?
No, racing was it for me.
And then do you besides racing, do you enjoy watching any other sports on TV?
I would say, yeah, I mean, I mainly watch racing. I've become a Commanders fan for my fiance, so I will watch football during the off season with him.
Yeah, and I hope the Commanders get better soon.
I
Uh,
hope so too.
yeah. And then do you have any siblings or pets?
So I have a younger sister and I have a couple of dogs myself.
What type of dogs?
A miniature pincher and a Yorkie.
Oh, nice. And then outside of racing, you've had a lot of this because it's the off season, but what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Free time. I would say I love going to the gym, and I love cooking. That's one thing on my crew. You will always get a home cooked meal and maybe even a couple baked desserts. So I make sure that everyone is fed and happy.
And then this is for like any female drivers listening to this that are trying go up the ranks. What advice would you give them?
I would say never give up if it's something that you love. And there's certainly days where it's more challenging. Just push through it and keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then I guess we can end on a few fun questions I have here. I guess the first one, have you ever been overseas before?
I have not. I have not left the United States, or sorry, I should say I've been to Canada, but I have not been overseas.
What country would you want to visit the most if you had the opportunity?
Ooh, gosh, that's a good question. I have not thought too much about leaving the country, but as far as I would probably say if I had to pick one, I'm Irish, so I would want to visit Ireland and see that.
Okay, that's cool. And then I guess growing up, what was your favorite cartoon?
Hmm. Honestly, I did not watch too many cartoons growing up. So I don't have one.
Oh, okay, no worries. And then was there like, or maybe alternative is like any TV shows you like watching right now?
Now, not. I'm kind of into a lot of racing related or just comedy at the end of the day that can kind of separate your mind.
Yeah, and I also I you mentioned racing, the new Netflix series just came out, I think of NASCAR, something related to NASCAR. Um, and then I guess then for wings, what would you prefer, bone-in or boneless wings and your favorite flavor?
Boneless, and I would say probably buffalo.
And then what would you say is on your bucket list?
Bucket list wise, racing wise, or
It could be anything in general or racing.
hmm, let's see. I've got a vacation spot that's on my bucket list, but I plan to check that off for my honeymoon. So we went to Nashville for the banquet, but I want to be able to sightsee a little bit during the honeymoon. So that's our plan. But as far as bucket list racing wise, I'd love to be able to continue with NASCAR. I want to get to 200 starts. So that's certainly a goal of mine.
Yeah, it's a great goal there. And then what would you say is your favorite ice cream flavor?
I would say it's a toss up on a day between cookies and cream and cookie dough.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've asked that question to a lot of like drivers, and cookie dough is definitely one of the most popular answers there. And then And then do you know how to play any instruments?
I do not.
And then staying with the music, what would you say is your favorite music genre and your favorite artist and song of that genre?
I would say I love country music. My favorite artist in that genre would be Jason Aldean.
Oh, that's a good pick there. And then I guess wrapping up here, thanks so much, Melissa, for joining us. It's a great honor having you join us here and wish you the best of luck this coming season. I hope it goes great. And thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.